Okay, I think we are actually good to go. So let's get started. This is App Academy Week 1, Day 2. So yesterday we learned a lot about just the basics of ideation and the two different methods that you can use to come up with app ideas. And I think one of the two ideas that you guys created, Ritvik and you guys created some good ideas, and I think you guys used some the methods that we created, which are innovative and refinement, and those are really good techniques to use when creating app ideas, obviously, because they allow you to really innovate or build on something better. And actually, Rohan, I wanted to hear your opinion on which you thought would be a better approach when creating an app idea, innovative or refinement, and why.
Refinement, because I mean there's not that many there's a lot of ideas out there that might need more help, and you could do that and also get more popularity.
Yeah, definitely. Uh, that's a really good point. And to your point there, there's already a lot of ideas out there, right? Like there could be someone who could already have like a messaging app, but if you can make that better, then that could be really innovative. Even if you're refining it, like you're innovating on someone else's innovating, which is basically the refinement approach. And I think it's really valuable that you're able to do that. So let's get started with the first slide here. So just a reminder, if you can, just turn your camera on. It just makes it better for like communication. Take notes because today we're gonna actually get into some of the more technical aspects of it. Make sure to participate and just be muted unless you're talking. Yeah, again with notes, it's really important for today, especially because we're getting into some more of the nitty gritty stuff that you'll need throughout the rest of the program. So yeah. Okay, so let's start off with just the basics on what the difference between Android and iOS development is. So you guys know that there's two different platforms, iOS and Android, and they're the main market share. There's other ones, but they completely take up the most of the market share. I think 98% of the entire market is both of those, and iOS phones are different than Android phones in development terms. So you'll have to program on different languages. There's a lot of differences actually between making an Android app and making an iOS app. But there's also another platform you can use to make both Android and iOS apps. But that's a more complicated thing. In this program, I think we're really going to be focusing on Android apps. And the reason why we're just focusing on Android instead of iOS is I think Android, if you get good at Android development, you're really getting good at programming. And I think if you have a strong base in development and programming, then you'll be able to do iOS development and cross-platform development. So let's look at some of the overviews. So Android and iOS, they're very different, but they have some key concepts that are pretty similar. And yeah, as I was saying, this camp is for Android development, but always feel free to reach out for iOS development tools. And in the future, we might do actually a cross-platform development where you can develop for both Android and iOS.
So is Android easier than iOS?
I would say Android is easier than iOS because Android has like a lot less constraints than iOS because iOS is really like a lot pickier about a lot of things. It's a lot. iOS has a lot more standards that they adhere to. I think iOS because they're such a like they want to keep their brand as something like very premium and very consistent across all their devices, and they don't want like some aspect of an app to be different or it's just a lot more complicated and the compiling process and just like testing it in general is just a lot more difficult and painful. Like I had personal experience with both, and I found Android a lot easier. So here's some of the key differences. Um, so Android and iOS development, they both need an IDE. Does anyone know what an IDE stands for?
No.
Okay, so an IDE is an integrated development environment, and that just means the place where you program in, right? It's just Android Studio, essentially, which is what you guys are going to be programming. So Android Studio is the IDE for Android development, and for iOS development, it's called Xcode. It's something that's only on Macs. So that's another constraining part of iOS development. If you don't have a MacBook, then you're not able to program iOS apps. So you need to have a MacBook. You can't program iOS apps on a Windows device unless you're running like an emulator, which is just more complicated than it needs to be. So if you don't have, yeah, you really need a MacBook, which is really essential for iOS development. Secondly, devices slash emulators. So when you're actually testing out Android and iOS apps, you're going to be using something called an emulator, and I'll be showing you how to download those today, and maybe not today, but just how to use those today because they're really, really useful. And they allow you to test your app on the go without actually like using a device. So say you want to test it on like a Google Pixel 3 or a Nexus 5, right? You're able to use that through an emulator as well as and on the iOS platform it's called a simulator. It's pretty much the same thing, but you're able to test it on like iPhones, like the iPhone 12, iPhone 11, iPhone SE. You're able to test your app on all of those to make sure that your app works on multiple devices. And finally, the languages that you use to program it in. So I had you guys download Java because for Android development, you need a language called Java, which is a pretty standard language, and that's another reason why this is a really good thing to learn because Java you use for everything in robotics. You use Java in a lot of machine learning. You use Java. Java is just like a really really practical and wide scale programming platform, and you also use it for Android development. So you're learning Java as well, and there's another language you use with Android development, and we'll go over it a little bit today. It's called XML, and it's a really really simple language. It's basically just setting like, hey, the text size has to be this big, the text color is this color. It's setting attributes to. It's basically for the UI, right? The user
So it's like
interface.
the CSS for HTML.
Exactly, exactly. It's so there's two, yeah, for Android development there's two languages you're going to be learning in this course. It's Java, which is all the backend, making the buttons click and making going to different screens and stuff like that. And then for XML, it's for the front end. So there's two different things. We'll go over this more, front end and back end. But front end is for XML, which is all what you see on the screen, all the user interface, like what color is this button, how big is this text. What's another example? Like how should you format this image? Like those are the things that are in XML, and then in Java, it's where you like, hey, when you click this button, what happens? And when you click on this button, what screen does it go to, right? So that's for Android, and then for iOS, you use this program called Xcode, which is not sorry, that's the IDE. You use this programming language called Swift, and it's a programming language that is kind of based on C Sharp. If you guys have ever heard of that, it's a programming language that iOS created on their own. It's a completely new programming language. It's okay to learn, but you can again Swift you're not going to be able to use anywhere else, right? You're only able to use Swift for iOS development and pretty much nowhere else. So it's not as practical as learning Java as your first language, but it's still great to learn. And if you need help with iOS development in the future, you can definitely reach out. We definitely have programs for that in the Shooting Stars, and I think we're gonna run a cross development platform as well. So yeah. So yeah, as I was saying, here are the key differences. So Android development uh, does not require one particular IDE. You can use Android Studio, IntelliJ, and Eclipse. In our case, we're using Android Studio because it's probably the easiest one to use, and it's integrated with the emulators and the simulators, so you can just download it onto an Android app on your computer instead of having like a separate device that you're downloading it onto. I think Android Studio is just a lot more optimized to just Android development, and it's a lot more versatile because you can have Android Studio on a Windows device, and you don't need to have a Mac to actually code on. And then for iOS, it can be done only in Xcode, and that's the only thing it can be done in, nothing else. And that Xcode, the Xcode like thing, you can only download on a Mac. So you can't download Xcode to a Windows. So, but you can use this thing called Flutter, which is a cross-platform platform where you can develop for Android and iOS at the same time. And we can go over that a little bit if we want in this course, but it's a more of a complicated language and it's using a lot more tools. But it's really something we're probably going to do with the next program. Once we have, if you guys are interested in another program, we could do cross-platform development. So yeah. So Android, we use Android Studio, and there's different emulators you can use to test it out to make sure that your layout looks good. You also, this is important, you always want to make sure you test it on multiple devices, because for Android, think about how many different Android devices there are, right? It's not, with iOS, there's a lot less sizes you have to accommodate for, but for Android, like, there's unlimited devices, I'm pretty sure. Like, you could make an Android phone this big or this big. Like, it doesn't really matter because it's not one company actually producing Android phones. Android is just an operating system which can be produced on any phone. So it could be on a Samsung, it could be on a Google Pixel, and the sizes are all different. So you also, that's something really important for Android development, is to accommodate for all phones. For iOS, you just need to accommodate for all Apple devices, which is a lot easier because there's a lot less sizes. I mean, there's still like iPhone 12, iPhone 12 Pro, iPhone 12 Pro Max. Like, there's different sizes there, but it's like 3 or 4, right? It's not that many. And yeah. So as we saw, languages needed. So we can go from the bottom. So Swift is what we need for iOS apps. Java, Kotlin, C++, or C# is what you can do for Android development, as well as XML. What you need XML, one of these plus XML, and Java is obviously what we're using because it's definitely the most practical and applicable one. And Dart is the language you use to develop in Flutter, and this is to make cross-platform apps. Does anyone have any questions before we get into Android development? Alright, give me just 1 second now. I'm just going to open up Android Studio, and yeah, I'll be back in 1 second. Okay, Rohan, you actually didn't get to introduce yourself yesterday because you weren't here. So do you want to introduce yourself now? Just say your name, your grade, one thing you want to do in the next year, 10 years, and in your lifetime.
My name's Rohan. Wait. After I say my grade, I just say what now?
You say what's your goal in the next year, in the next 10 years, and one goal you have in your lifetime.
Okay. So, my name's Rohan. I'm going to go to 8th grade. My goal for this year is to get better at tennis. My goal for the next 10 years is to get into a good college. My goal for a lifetime is good job.
Yeah, or just like any like accomplishment you would just want to do. Okay, that's great.
That's basically what everybody else said too.
Yeah. I mean, most people have like similar similar tracks in the future. They just want to go to college and get a pretty good job. Okay, so Android development introduction. So let's start off with just the basics of what is an app. So an app is a platform that's built for allowing mobile users to expand the usage of their devices. So a phone comes with certain features such as a calculator, right? You can calculate 5 plus 5 or 5 divided by 5. And you can use your flashlight, you can use your camera, but what if you want to take these features to the next level? And some examples of this is Facebook, right? You have the typical messaging app that comes with your phone, but Facebook took it to the next level where you could connect with people through images, videos, posts, and it's through an all connected platform where you can connect with friends you've never connected before without using your phone number. Another example, Uber, right? You can get car rides from your phone. Like that, it's an expansion of your phone. Not only is your phone a camera and a calling device and a texting device, now it's a getting ride device, right? Photoscan, it's another really popular app. And now, not only as your phone, a camera, all these things already, but you add on another usage, which is a document scanner. Now you're just your phone is a photocopier, so you can just get rid of your photocopier, right? So an app is really something that adds functionality to the user's device. So what is Android? Does anyone want to take a shot on this one? What is Android? Okay. Well, Android is a mobile operating system based on Linux. There's over 24,000 SKUs of Android devices, and this is what I was talking about earlier. There's small phones, big phones, and let's see how many SKUs there are for iPhones. So there's 12 iPhones come out so far, and maybe 3 or 4 per. So maybe around 30 to 40 SKUs of iPhones, different variants of iPhones. 30 to 40 different variants of iPhones. Now you have 24,000 variants of Android devices. Now that's going to be really important to optimize to every phone because you don't want half the screen cut off on a small phone and then half the screen just blank on a big phone, you know? So there's over 2.5 billion Android devices. There's a very big audience worldwide, and there's lots of potential for business. And obviously, it uses the Google Play Store. So, okay, Android development technology. Let's get into this. So, what is backend? Does anyone? I'm mentioning a little bit earlier. Ritvik, do you want to say what backend is, or take a guess at it?
It's not the UI.
Yeah, it's not the UI exactly. But what is it? Rohan, you wanna guess?
I don't know.
Okay, so obviously in development there's two ends. There's a front end and a back end. This is something you want to write. These two terms you want to write down because we're going to be mentioning it throughout the rest of the class. So back end. What is back end? Back end is everything that happens behind the scenes. You can think of it like behind, back. That's how you can remember it. It's everything that happens behind the scenes of an app. It's making the app work by clicking the buttons, moving from screen to screen, connecting databases, yeah, and just making things work. This is how, like, the thing, you don't see this code, you don't see this in action, but it's what makes the app work in the background. So basically, one thing triggers another is what you can come down to like a simple definition of backend. So in Android development, we use Java for the backend, and definitely write this down. So Java is an object-oriented programming language, OOP, and we'll get into what that means later on. But it's very versatile, easy to use, and it utilizes dot notation, curly braces, parentheses, and semicolons. That's the syntax of Java, and that syntax means like the makeup of the language. So it uses dot notation, curly braces, parentheses, and semicolons to write the code. That's what you use to put the code together. And Java is used for the backend programming of Android. Okay. So here's kind of an example of a simple line of code in Java. So this line of code will print "Hello World" to the screen. And sorry, there's actually a small error here. There needs to be another or one of these. Okay. So let's think about it like this. So here's the dot notation that I'm talking about. There's dot dot. So that's how you connect two different things in Java. And then here is a function name. The function name is println, right? And inside the function is where you put is where the parentheses goes, and inside that is how you denote what goes inside the function. So this function basically what this function does is prints whatever's inside this, and there needs to be parentheses to close it off as well. So let's just look at this right here. So you have system.out.println, and system.out is just where the method is coming from. So it's coming from the system Java class, and we'll talk about that how that works a little bit later. But what you need to focus on right now is println is a specific function, and then inside that function you're putting "Hello World" as what you want to print out. So what this function does is prints whatever's inside the parentheses, and what's inside the parentheses is "Hello World." So it'll be printing out "Hello World." Does anyone have any questions on that so far? That was just a simple line of code. Okay. So let's just go over what front end is. So front end is everything that the user can see on their screen. This is also known as user interface, if we ever refer to it as that, or UI. It's just everything that you can see on the screen. If you can see it, it's part of the UI, right? So some examples of this are the colors of buttons, the background images, placement of buttons, displaying text, and font color size. So can anyone come up with any other examples of can anyone come up with another example of a UI, a UI element? Ritvik, do you know any other examples?
Making shapes and stuff.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
Showing images and shapes and things.
Yeah, exactly. Just anything you can think of that can be on an app, like on what you can see with your own eyes, is on the front end. So, as I was saying earlier, for front end, we're going to be using XML. And make sure to write this down. This is really, really important. So XML is a markup programming language that is used to program the front end of Android apps. It is really, really simple and intuitive to use. You'll probably learn it within an hour or so. And it uses really, really simple attributes, like to define what something is. It's kind of like CSS, if you guys have ever used that before. You just use font color, font size, background, text, pretty much for everything. Everything has a font color if it's text, everything has font size. If it's text, any type of text, like if it's like a field where you need to enter in information, if it's just a text where it's just displaying information, or even if it's an image, you still need a background for that image, right? The image, you're setting the size of the image, and you're also setting the background. So everything, you'll also need sizes and constraints, but we'll go over that once we actually go over XML. We have an entire 2 or 3 classes dedicated to XML. So just for now, remember that they have simple attributes, and it's used to make the front end of Android apps.
So the first step to downloading Android.
Oops. Okay.
So the first step to download.
That's loud. So yeah, I think, do we have? Okay. So does everyone have Android Studio actually downloaded? I know Rithvik, you were having issues. You have downloaded? Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, me too.
Awesome, Rohan. Okay. So I'm gonna just screen share my Android Studio, and we can just go through some things on my end. Sorry, I'm having just an issue with sharing with Android Studio. Okay, it should be good to go. I just need to join back the meeting. Are you guys able to see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so let's open up Android Studio here. I'm just currently working on an app right now. I've been working on a few apps. This is one of I don't know if I don't know, Rohan, if you saw the part. I think that part cut out for some reason where I was talking about Rentathon, but this is the Rentathon code right here. It's like I have a lot on this app. Look, so these are the Java classes right here, and these are the XML files down here. So I'll go over this and how you can create a new project and everything, but I can just show you like a preview of what this code looks like. Obviously, okay, sorry, Krish is joining. All right. So obviously, yours is not going to look this large, right? This is just an example of like how you could scale your app, right? This is an 8,000 line homepage for a Rentathon app. It's just a lot of code, but let's just go over how you can actually create your own project and get started. So let me just go to a screen that I think you guys are on right now. Let me close this one also. We can go a little like past 6 today since we started a little late, but okay. So you guys should have a screen like this right now, right? Welcome to Android Studio. Do you guys see something like this?
I accidentally already clicked on create new project.
Okay, that's fine. So are you just on this screen right here? a new project?
Yeah, I'm on that.
Okay. Ritvik, do you wanna click on create new project? And so you can get to the same screen as us.
I already did.
Oh, great. Okay. Awesome. So this is where we have you can create a bunch of new activities for your project, but we're just gonna start off with an empty activity, so we can just get a blank screen and just start off on that. So click on empty activity and then click next. Tell me when you guys are there.
I'm there.
Me too.
Okay. So now you can change the application name to whatever the name of your app is going to be, and we're just going to call it example app right now. Just for now, and you can name this whatever you want when you're creating your own app. Obviously, this is just to your own creativity. It's just going to be whatever your app is going to be called in the future. But the second thing here is the package name, and it usually automatically puts in the package name for you. You guys should have like com.example. I'll just keep it the same, just to make it consistent here. Com.example app, and that's just the package name, and it's just how Google Play will refer to it when you upload your app to the Google Play Store, and it's just a code for later on. This is a save location. I currently just have it saved in my document. If you guys want to change that, you can just click on this folder icon right here, and you can just change wherever you want to save it in. But I think the default location is usually pretty good. And make sure to, if it's not already selected Java, make sure to select Java, because that's what we're going to be programming in it.
I
And
accidentally pressed finish.
okay, is this Ritvik? Okay. Did you selected Java though, right?
Yeah, I was on Java.
Okay, we should be good to go then. The minimum.
But it didn't say, I don't think it said the com.example one.
It shouldn't matter too much. The package name shouldn't matter unless you're uploading your app. So it shouldn't matter too much. So let's just go ahead and click finish here. So you should see the screen where it's like installing all the components, and this is just installing like all the tools you'll need to build your app. And Ritvik, have you clicked this button yet? Finish here.
Yeah, I pressed that.
Okay, yeah. So go ahead and click this as well, Rohan, and it should open up your project.
It says it says error loading default project.
Okay. Ritvik, did something open up like this for you? Ritvik?
Yes.
You want us to go to screen share so we can see what's going on?
Yeah. So Ritvik seems to be good. So Rohan, you can screen share and we can take a look.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you see
Click OK, or yeah, click OK. Okay, try doing that again, where you create a new project and empty activity. Actually, try changing your wait before clicking finish. Change your minimum SDK, because mine was set to 5.1, so try setting it to 5.1. Yeah, API 22. And wait, before you click continue, is there anything else that seems off here? Okay, yeah, just go ahead and click finish and see what happens.
says this again.
Okay, I've never actually seen something like this. Let me look that up.
I'm gonna try closing Ender Studio and reopening again.
Oh, closing out an Android Studio.
Yeah, just restart the entire application.
How do I get back into it again?
Just go to your Windows and search Android Studio. There you go.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It worked.
Oh,
There we go. That
okay.
looks better. And sometimes you gotta just restart the app or your computer. That's the first thing you should do if you guys have an issue. If something's not working, the first thing you do is restart the application. If that doesn't work, then maybe restart your computer.
Okay. Wait. Is this where we're supposed to be?
Yes. You can just close the panel on the right side. Rithvik, you can close the panel on the right side as well, like the what's new in 4.2. That's just giving you like a brief update. Okay.
Okay.
Can you guys see my screen now?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me just close everything. Just close everything that's open on the top. If you guys have anything open, just go ahead and close them, and we'll just start fresh.
Also, you might have to show them how to get rid of like the side panel, because I think they saw the side panel there.
This side panel right here. All you have to do is just click this minus sign, and that should just hide it for you.
Yeah, it essentially shows you all your files in like an organized way. But when you're coding, sometimes it can get in your way. So if you want to, constantly kind of open and get rid of that, then just use that right there.
Okay, so
Wait, so should I delete all my tabs? Like all of them?
yeah, just delete all of them so you're on a screen like this.
And you're not deleting the tabs, you're just minimizing it to like the side. You see like the bars, like the progress bars on the not progress bars, like the bars, like the little text headers on like the left and the right with like the vertical headers. You're just essentially putting everything into there, and then you can open it anytime you want. That's what you're doing. Yeah.
Okay.
If you click the project icon, and it'll open everything up again.
Okay, so do you guys see a screen like this?
Yes.
Rithvik? Okay, great. So let's just explore what you see here. So when you open up an Android Studio project, main thing you're going to be using is this left panel here. And on the left panel, there should be something called Project, and it should be sideways. When you click on that, you're able to open back up this directory, and it has all your files, all your folders. So yeah. So just click this app thing, the arrow next to the app, and we can just close all the folders here. Okay, so do you guys have the folders closed?
Yes.
Alright, great. So once you have this is just a blank slate, and there's two different things that you have in your directory here in every Android app. So there's an app folder and there's a Gradle scripts folder. And we're not going to be really going over this Gradle script, so I'll just explain it right now since we have the time. A Gradle scripts folder is where you can implement like separate APIs that you want to implement to your app. So APIs are essentially things that Android doesn't have by itself, but like special things that you want to add to your app. So if you want to add like a QR code scanner or something, you would have to go into one of these files right here and like implement that, like do like an implement line where you would essentially be downloading that from the internet. But we're not going to be doing any super special fancy stuff on this program. We're just going to be mainly sticking with the default Android functions, which is still a lot to learn. So we're not going to be really using the Gradle scripts function here. So the main thing is this app folder, and in this app folder, there's really two things that you're going to mainly be using. So manifest is not one of them, so you can just ignore that. Pretty much, manifest just gives you more options for just looking at your app in general, but you're not going to be really using that. The main two things are Java and Res, and as we talked about earlier, Java is the back end and Res is the front end, and these two folders right here allow you to just access the front end and back end. So So tell me, do you guys have these two folders open right here?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so all your XML files are going to be going in here, which is all the front end stuff, and all your back end files are just, and you're not going to be using any of these two folders. Honestly, you could delete them if you want, just keep them for now, just so that you don't get any extra errors. But you can you're only going to be using this first file in this, under this Java one. So you're going to open that up, and you're going to be seeing two different folders underneath, which is just what, remember when you, going back to the directory name, com example app, that's how that works. It just creates like folders underneath it, and you don't really, it's not that important to understand how that works. That's just for when you're actually publishing your Android app. It's a little bit more important, but for now we can just stick with what's inside of this. So you should.
I only have main activity inside that folder, not anything else inside the first thing.
Did you not create like a directory, or it might have been something where when you were creating your directory, I'm not sure why you would have that. You should have it. You should have two folders underneath, but as long as you have main activity, that's all that really matters for now. But yeah, so if you open up main activity, Chris, you want to talk about a little about how like an Android like Java class works?
Yeah, sure. So with the Java classes, first of all, you have each. We're not going to go too in depth. We're not really actually going to dive into too much Java today. But the basic structure is that first you're going to have all your import statements. And import statements are kind of similar like the APIs that Aisha was talking about. So every now and then you want like a piece of code or something that someone else has written across the internet. But the basics of Java, the Java library doesn't have that code. So when you're doing an import statement, you're kind of just importing that code, from the library that it belongs to and kind of bringing it into your own code. But, a lot of these import statements are kind of, automated. Like, when we open main activity, we haven't personally written a single line of code, but it already has all these import statements written for us. So, when a lot of people think of coding, they're thinking of something really complex. You have to do a lot of, research, add all these statements. But Android Studio really simplifies the process for you. It really has all these import statements done. And also, it creates like the frame for the class. It gives you like the class name based on what you've named the file. So every single time you'll create like a new file, you'll have like something like this pop up, and it'll create like the whole structure. It'll give the class a name based on what you named the Java file. It'll do all your import statements for you, and it'll also do some basic Android code that every single class needs. So all of this code you're seeing right here is essentially just code that you don't have to even worry about or pay attention to. It's just there for you. So.
Yeah. So this is one of the classes that it automatically generates. It's called main activity, and an activity is just a screen. Just think about an activity as a screen, and whenever there's a Java class, there's always an XML file to go with it. So if you guys have your res folder open, you're going to want to open layout, and this is going to show you there's always an XML file that goes with it. And so this XML file right here is associated with this Java file. So here's where you would write all your front-end code for this main activity, and here's where you would write all the back-end code. In the Java as a back-end, and in this XML file as a front-end.
So always keep in mind that XML is always for the front end. If you hear XML, immediately think front end. If you hear Java, immediately think back end. And also, if you go to the split design, I highly recommend using split design because that allows you to use actual code for writing the XML. And when you're kind of writing the XML code like on an app, you kind of want to see the changes as you're making them, live. So this gives you the opportunity to, write the code, see the changes immediately happening to the right. And then at this point, you would want to close out the app folder. You can just minimize that, and you have more space just to focus on, XML. So it's kind of like a basic tour of, it's a basic idea of how maybe you want to use Android Studio. If you it kind of allows you to focus on different tasks, different times based on whatever you're doing. You can kind of focus on XML and then open the project folder and go to Java files and continue writing in Java. So it's pretty multifaceted. But
yeah. So we're not going to go too much onto what this code actually means today. We have many classes that really cover that, but I just wanted to go over like how Android Studio works and like just the general format of it. So we have the so there's actually 4 different files in this res folder that you're going to be using. So this layout one is going to have all your screens. So okay, let's actually go over the process of creating a new screen before we go into those other ones. So you have your main activity right here, right? But say this you want to have another screen where you don't necessarily want to have the same information as the main activity. You want to click a button and go to another screen. So how would you create a new screen? And remember, there's always 2 files you need when creating a new screen. You need the Java file and you need this XML file. So Java and XML. So how would you create this? So you would actually have to go here and for Rohan, for some reason, you would have to click on COM because you don't have these 2 other folders. But Ritvik, just click on example app. Just the folder right above main activity.
I don't have them either.
You don't have. You just have COM.
Yeah.
Okay, just click on COM then. I'll click on example because you always want to do the folder right above the main activity. So right click on that, and you should have this whole menu come up here. In this menu, they're able to do a lot of things, but what we're going to do is we're going to go to the top one, which is new. And inside new, we're not going to do Java class, we're not going to do any of these. We're just going to go down to activity, and then inside activity, empty activity. So I'll give you a moment to get to that spot.
Yeah, so you always want to create the the activities, Java activities in like the spot where the main activity appears for you. So for you should appear an example. For you it's under comp, then don't bother creating a new folder and then creating it in there. Just create it wherever the default is for you, and then we can work from there.
So are you guys ready to click empty activity? Are you up to that point? Rohan?
Yeah.
Okay, so just click on empty activity, and now you're gonna get the same. You're gonna get a new screen where it's gonna allow you to name this activity. So let's just call this activity. Let's say you want to create a login screen, right? So we're just gonna call this login, and you can't have spaces, by the way. So login screen with capital L, capital S. So there's this checkbox right here, and you want to make sure this is checked because this will generate a layout file, and which is an XML file. Layout, XML, same thing. Just they're interchanging terms. Layout and XML, they're just what the front end is. And when you're generating a layout file, that's the XML file that you're actually creating in the layout folder in the res folder here. So that's really important for you to do. So make sure that's checked so you can create a Java and XML file. And everything else should be good. Make sure this is Java. If you haven't done anything, it should not have changed. But yeah, so just click finish. And as you can see, it has created a brand new Java class and XML file. And these 2 files are associated with each other. And this is how the screen looks, and this is how the backend functionality works. And we'll obviously go into how to actually program that a little bit later, but I just wanted to show you like the process of connecting a Java and XML class and just how to create one in general.
So main takeaways for Taylor know that XML is always associated with the front end. Java is always the back end. If you know that and you know like the basics of how to navigate Android Studio, you're in a great spot. So.
Rohan or Ritvik, do you have any questions on just navigating Android Studio?
No.
Okay, I have a question. Rohan, so what do you? So there's 4 folders in this res folder right here. They all have to do with the front end. What do you think this drawable folder represents? What do you think goes in this drawable folder? Just take a wild guess.
Is it like so you can like draw? I don't know.
Not necessarily. Ritvik, you want to take a guess? What goes in that folder?
I have not a single idea.
Okay, so just think of it as a folder where anything that you want to put on the screen that's not a screen itself goes in. So if it's an image, if it's a shape, if it's basically, so any image, just think of any image. If you want your logo on your app, you need to put it into this drawable folder first, and then you can access it. So there's already these two launcher background drawables, and we can take a look at them. For example, as you can see, they're just this Android icon. Any asset that you want in your app to make your app just look a lot better, or just to have that asset in your app, you want to make sure to put it in that drawable folder. And we'll go over how we're going to be doing those and creating those drawables later on. But yeah, so these two folders are really the ones you're going to be mainly using. I think values you might use a little bit. You can change like default colors of your app, and strings.xml allows you to just change your app name. So if you want to change your app name to Rentathon, for example, that's our app name. That's where that would go. So I think that's pretty much it you would do in the values folder. There's not much you would be doing in there, as well as map, nothing there actually. So yeah, these two mainly layout folder for all the screens, and then drawable for any images and assets you have. So yeah, does anyone have any questions about that?
No, I get it.
All right, awesome. And make sure. And yeah, you guys know how to switch between design and split view, right? You always want to try to use split view so you can see the code and the screen at the same time. You guys good with that?
No, I am not.
Okay, so do you see a screen like this, Ritvik?
Yes.
So on the top right corner, there should be a button right here saying design right next to it. Click on split.
Where?
It's in the top right corner.
I think our call's about to end, so if you don't have any other questions, I
I have
think,
like one question.
yeah, go for it. I
Yeah,
mean,
mine design's actually different. I just realized. Instead of just like one. Like,
just join the callback. It's about to end in like 10 seconds. Just join the callback and we'll answer the question.